Mary was a sheep, and we got her when she still had her tail from the university through a friend. We brought her, and the parents helped build a fence, a field for her, and we had her, and it was the kids' responsibility to feed and clean and do all those kinds of things. And Mary became a student. She was as important as any other student in the school. And she had the free run of all of the school property. She would go inside the school and she would visit the classrooms, and then when the teacher was tired of her, why, she'd say, "Out, Mary." And we had her, once a year we would have her sheared. There was a fellow that would come and he would shear her. And then we would keep the wool, and we did borrowed a loom, and we combed the wool and dyed it with natural plants. So we had some very pretty colors, and then they wove it into a wall hanging. Mary disappeared one day. We kept her at night in a large dog pen outside, and every morning I would go out and unlock it. And one morning I went out, and the door was open and Mary was gone. Did not know what had happened, and everybody panicked. We called around the neighborhood to people, and the newspaper came and took a story, and then it was written in the newspapers. Everybody in Athens knew that Mary was missing. That the things that we did at Barnard Shoals was not done anywhere else. It was very unique, and so it went by several days and could not find Mary. And so then a phone call came to the school, and someone anonymously said that they thought Mary was in a field in, I think, Jackson County, up there somewhere. So the art teacher's husband came very quickly with his truck, and I think there was a newspaper fellow and I and her husband, and we went looking. Finally, after searching, we did find the field, but no Mary. We could not see. It was empty. There was no one in the house. It was just completely isolated, and so we were I was extremely disappointed. And of course the kids at school were waiting. And so we were ready to go, and I looked out in the field and didn't see anything, but I just hollered, "Mary!" And before I could turn around, she came up over the hill, lickety split. Just running and opened the gate, and we just hugged each other. That was just so special. Though it was an animal, we had bonded so well that she knew my voice. And so we put her in the truck and took her back to school. All the kids were out there with big signs. "Welcome, welcome Mary." And so we put her out, and they just hugged her and walked her back around to the back of the school, and she was home, and everybody was happy, and everybody could get back to work, because there hadn't been a lot of work done in her absence. Well, they're beautiful. They give enjoyment. They're very much like children in many ways. When, oftentimes when we go to look at a box, we tap on, knock on their door, so they know they have a visitor. And if the mother is in there, she will immediately fly out. And then we can look at the birds. But she does not fly far. She will fly in a tree close by, and she will sit there and watch, and often just chatter, 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 chatter. Go away, go away. This is a cardinal that she made. I like this one. This is a chickadee that she made. Her home was right on the edge of the woods. And of course she had her flower gardens, and she could see just about everything. She had bird boxes. She fed the birds. She liked bird pictures, paintings, and her house had a lot of paintings. Mostly they were of birds, different kinds of birds. She always had hummingbird feeders. She had 2 or 3. She had big glass doors off her little family room there, and so she could watch them when she was unable to, to get outside. I know at one time sugar was rationed. I think it was during the war or something. It was rationed, but there was always sugar for the hummers. And she always sent food to the neighbors, and always did kind things for those that were sick or needed something. She would make it, and then she would send it by one of us kids. Sometimes people would come unannounced, and always she would thin the soup, so she said. I taught kindergarten the first couple of years, and then we moved to Maryland. For some reason, I went to a meeting or something about learning disabled children, and that really fascinated me. And I got a degree in special education, specifically learning disabled. It was a small class, and I had the students all day long. A few of them later on were, I call them farmed out. They were in a regular class for non-academics.
You know what, you gotta get better.
I enjoyed that very, very much. I like a challenge, and they were all challenges. I remember her getting on top of the climber out here and standing up, and she wouldn't come down. Kids that really needed a lot of loving, a lot of care, a lot of direction, and I like that. Because of their learning habits and patterns, I did a lot of hands-on stuff with them outdoors, teaching them about the environment. And we had herb gardens, and we made a lot of herb vinegars. We had beehives, and we harvested the honey. And we had a vegetable garden. We sold this. We would have a sale every fall. We made a lot of bird boxes, bluebird boxes, just a lot of different things, and put them up. feeding the animals too. I tried to incorporate all of this into math and reading because that was the way that they seemed to learn the best. And then from the money that we earned, I would take them on a trip. We went camping, different campsites here. Every year we went to some place that they maybe would never get the chance to go to. I am in the newspaper. I didn't know that.
It was just a blessing for those kids. You know, as she said before, some of those would never experience.
Oftentimes, several times during the year, we would have a tea party for the teachers. And we would send invitations, or they would go and personally invite them and come. And as they come, the students were assigned to certain teachers, and they had to greet the teachers and thank them for coming, and then take them and sit with them and carry on a conversation. So that was a challenge. They loved it, and I hope that that has carried over, because the social skills are really important, and these kinds of children lack social skills. Cooking was something that you could relate, and gardening could relate easily to the academics that were taught in the regular classroom. They remembered, and it was good because when you could see that it carried over and they could transfer that information to a new situation, you knew that they understood it.
Back then we had more autonomy of the schools. Each school was really its own community, and we kind of controlled what happened in the building. Within reason, we didn't have to go to the district office or the board office to ask permission for any little thing. So no, anytime Joan asked for something, it was always go for it. It's better to ask forgiveness than permission. Okay, many times with a good idea, just do it and then we'll worry about it later. Just wonderful memories, just her enthusiasm and love for kids. And believing that all kids can achieve. That was the best part. Watching some really students with some very major exceptionalities succeed in her classroom.
And then, top it, whatever you want on it. And then I think we'll slip the whole thing in. On here or whatever, yeah. 10 inch. So maybe if you want to get together in 2 or 3s and put whatever you want on it. I swear I got a score. After I retired teaching, my friend Fraser Galloway asked me again if I would come, and because they had need of teachers. And so after consideration and a long vacation, I went. After a while, I like to do things when I teach. In my class at school, we did a lot of activities through which they learned. And so I decided that I needed something, not just to stand and talk. So we started cooking. The cooking, American cooking, is very, very different from Asian cooking. And they were interested because many of them, I think in their home countries, do not have the same tools, so to speak, to cook with. They don't have large ovens, And the way they cook is different. I do a lot of baking in the oven or steaming and things like this, which was very new to them. A lot of the vocabulary that we use in cooking is foreign to them. So we went through a lot of vocabulary pertaining to how you cook, like you stir, you fold, you beat. If you want something to be really fluffy, then you're going to beat it with an electric beater. I think they like to get together and just talk, you know. And they help each other and they encourage each other, which I think is very important. And I think that our group is very close. They keep track of each other. And that's very good. And they come from different countries and they learn about tradition, culture in other countries. And I think come to realize that we're all the same. I probably, hopefully, the main way is encouraging, helping them to adjust to a new culture when they come, to show them that they are accepted and loved. Whatever the need, I try to help them. But I think it all boils down to just loving them.
And nurse said I had to wake him up. You sweet thing.
This could be a bird, and this is his beak. And all we need to do is put two eyes here. When you touch him, he curls up. He curls right up in a little ball. But he'll stretch out. He doesn't hurt you. He helps decompose the soil.
Cool.
Cool. You know what decompose is, don't you?
It's changing.
Changes.
She's a quick learner. She enjoys it.
Oh, look at there. A carrot.
A carrot.
You can eat it. Take a bite and then give me a bite.
She likes to eat it. And she is very willing to learn.
What do you think?
What is that thing?
You know what it is. We find them on the porch.
Lizard.
A lizard, yes. Oh my. I bet the car ran over him.
Was that your car?
What's that number?
1.
1, and remember how we say that? 1/4 cup water.
water.
So we need 1 1/4 cup water, and then 1/2 cup vegetable oil, and 3
eggs.
eggs. Okay. I wonder if we should.
A little bit too
No, that's all right. Just scrape it off. Just kind of fill the hole. That's it. That's right. And start at the handle and go down. Perfect.
The mountains are his, the rivers are his, the stars his hand they will do.
Whoa. There's nothing my God can't do. For you. Okay, here you go. And as you cook, you can talk about anything. Where it came from, you know, vanilla comes from a bean, and I have some vanilla beans, and so you can show her this. Or apples, and we count the seeds in the middle, and that one seed can make an apple tree. So you think how many apples are on a tree from one seed. A lot, I think most learning is done by doing, and it's not so much intentional as it is just taking that opportunity to connect different things. Connect a word with something else.
Thy will.
Keep it to the wire. There, good.
One thing that's always been very impressive to both my wife and I, my wife is an educator as well, is really the way that Graham teaches by allowing our children to get their hands dirty. Especially here at their house, this is a place where they can just kind of open the door and go and get dirty and walk down to the barn, or it used to be going down to the chicken coop and getting eggs out, or making a mess in the kitchen. It seems like there's no limitations on those. If it takes making a mess to learn something, then make the mess to learn something. If it takes an extra 30 minutes to do something because you have this small child beside you, then take the extra 30 minutes to do something so they can learn.
God is so great, so strong and so mighty, there's nothing like God cannot do.
Right now, you know, every so often she changes, but for sometimes now she says, I'm going to be a baker. Tomorrow it may be something else, but today it's a baker. And that's good. Kids need to be exposed and then choose. Using whatever talents the Lord has given them. I'm much more easygoing, you know, if
I spy with my
I'm very willing to get off the subject.
something.
If that is a question, you know, if they have a legitimate question,
You know where we go to the beach?
that's fine with me to get off, because you always can get back on the track. But
Where they started. Like this.
Under.
Right, just like you weave a pot holder. Here.
I remember when me, Brennan, and Sissy.
Brennan.
you kind of have to flow with the kids' thoughts and where they're going. Otherwise, you might miss a golden opportunity to teach them something that might affect them down the road. Because lots of times we don't know what goes on in their heads.
You can be my
And
lady.
I would sometimes like to know.
Something like that.
Wish I could figure them out. This is one of my favorites. How many more do we need?
One. Where do I put this?
Right here. Yes.
Thanksgiving originally when the early settlers came here called pilgrims, and I'm so happy that you're here to celebrate with us. Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the blessings of the year. Father, you truly have blessed us. We have so many things to be thankful for.